Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! ISB!
A 33-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! And Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Thursday. It's August 17th. Thanks a lot for joining us. As always, we appreciate you. Looking forward to another one. Plenty to talk about. John Boy, who's all on the schedule today?
Coming up first, we'll have Mr. Matt Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. I'm sure we'll get to chat with him about Anthony Richardson and his debut with the franchise in the preseason. And then we'll also have Mr. Chris Denari of the Indiana Pacers and see what he's been up to. Also trying to see if Dylan Sin will be able to come on for a segment in the first hour. That's not confirmed yet, but I am checking on that and seeing if that will be able to work for him.
Yeah, I think we had a last-minute cancellation, so always looking to give you the best that we can. Hope you're having a great day. What's going on with you? Lots to talk about. Sage Steele leaves ESPN. That is definitely, without question, our first thing to talk about. A longtime sports ESPN anchor, Sage Steele, former IU from Indiana, settles a lawsuit against ESPN. So I think that she came out well, and then she decided to leave on her own. So what's next for Sage? We'll have to see. But I don't think that she'll be out of the job long. I don't think that she's going to be just fine. But wish her the best. Great person. Had the opportunity to meet her plenty of time. And she's actually, she took a stand for everybody and does what we do. I mean, her lawsuit was a First Amendment rights lawsuit. Free speech against ESPN. She was taken off the air for saying something a couple years before. She's been with ESPN since 2007. She was taken off of the air in 2021 after her comments on political and social issues drew criticism. She apologized for the comments, but last year filed a lawsuit against ESPN, alleging that it retaliated against her over her remarks and that her right to free speech had been violated. And then her comment, having successfully settled my case with ESPN Disney. Well, you got to jump out of the way. I have decided to leave so I can exercise my First Amendment rights more freely, she said in a social media post Tuesday morning. She's grateful for so many wonderful experiences over the last 16 years and excited for her next chapter. That's about it to the story, really. Wish her the best. And I'm sure she'll be fine. She's going to be on Megyn Kelly today. She'll be making the rounds, doing the interviews. And hey, she won. She beat them, which was great to see, actually, for everybody. How's everybody doing? Jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Don't forget Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just to get more to your door, go to andymorehonda.com. And the great wealth of restaurants of the Wow Food Group in and around the Bloomington area. Great places like Hank's Pizza Mac. Get tot bowls, mac bowls, pizzas. Southern Stone. Feast. All kinds of great places. We'll get you to there. But thanks a lot for joining us. And everybody joining us on the Andy Moore Honda hotline already. John hitting us up from Southern Brown County. Rudy. The Truth. Robert is on. Mike, John, Kent from Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Justin as well. Kevin from Monroeville, Indiana. Love that. Gritty's on. Down in Evansville. Bob jumping on from Georgetown. And Dwayne. Gritty says she bets Sage Steele ends up at Outkick. That's not a far off guess. I don't know that she wants to go into that type of thing, but we'll see. We will see. She's going to be on Megyn Kelly, so you can catch that. I don't know what Megyn Kelly her show is on and anything about that. So, but John says he sees IU's down a guard. Are you talking about Ja'Kai Newton, who did undergo a procedure yesterday? It was announced, and his return is unknown on when that will happen. What does that mean? I don't know other than what it says. Is this an indefinite thing? Are we talking weeks? Are we talking months? It's back to the gamesmanship of I don't think this is not real. Woody's doesn't do the gamesmanship thing, although they don't release information like that. It would just be nice to know when he's potentially going to return, just so we could talk about it, figure out what they're going to do and do it differently. But again, they like to keep certain information as quiet as possible. Everybody does it. Justin says redshirt Newton and manage his body well. Man, he certainly is a specimen, that is for sure. They do have a visit coming, though. We'll talk about that from Jalen Harrelson. But the exact statement with Ja'Kai Newton underwent a procedure to treat a pre-existing injury. So that's the good thing. On Wednesday, according to a release from the program, there is currently no timetable set for his return back to action. 6'3", 190-pound guard from Covington, Georgia. He was a consensus top 100 recruit, ranked number 72 in this year's class. Newton has had unfortunate injury history in his past, missing much of his senior season prior to arriving to Indiana with a knee injury. It's unclear at this time if the procedure done on Wednesday is related to the same injury. So there you go. Will he stay? Or no, I'm just kidding. How long will he be out? If it was something done on that knee, I hopefully it was something like a scope, and yeah, you're looking at weeks, which is not a big deal, although getting in doctrine into the offense and everything else would be nice, but it's not going to happen for Ja'Kai. I'm sure it's extraordinarily frustrating for him. And when I talk about filling that open spot that Indiana has, that's why. Okay. Ja'Kai's not available right now. Yeah, what happens when 1-2 others get hurt? Now you get down to dangerously close to having. Well, you only have that brings you what, 9 scholarship guys? That's a rotation. That's a full rotation. Maybe not even a full rotation. So bodies, man, bodies. It does matter. But we'll see how that works out. Purdue ends their European tour. We'll talk about that. The Big 12 is going to pass on UConn and Gonzaga. TCU, SM pausing a series with SMU. The Reds win. The blindsided to parents in that situation. The movie, The Blind Side, blindsided with a lawsuit. And we'll talk about the Chip Kelly idea to end all of the craziness of expansion, yada, yada. But the Big 12 passing on UConn and Gonzaga. Does the Gonzaga even have a football team? I mean, I didn't know Gonzaga played football. So, and why has the Pac-12 have they decided to dissolve? I mean, what the hell are they doing? That if Gonzaga is available, that's somebody that the Pac-12 should be begging to be in their conference.
While I agree with you, I mean, I don't feel like the Pac-12 has much they can offer anybody at this point. Not to mention they're pretty much the Pac-4.
Well, they don't have a TV. They don't have there's no TV deal.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you could beg and plead Gonzaga all you want, but I don't think that would ever happen at this juncture.
No, because I don't think they can offer them anything better than what they have. But the fact that it just looks like the Pac-12 is, well, they are done. Who's their leader? I don't think that the remaining schools, they're ignoring George Klavikov. Is he even still have a job? Is there such thing as the Pac-12 right now? Or I guess they're still operating. You don't just fold as a conference, I guess. But they have offices. You know, like the Big Ten has a big ass office. Surely the Pac-12 had an office.
Yeah, it is interesting because, I mean, obviously the Pac-12 in its current form will exist this season. Everything will be as has been for the 2023-2024. What we got here? Pac-12 games contract will be a guy with iPhone and post on YouTube. Shout out to John W. Thanks for that comment.
That's the funniest thing I've seen in a long effing time. Right. Oh my God. We've got to take a break. Great time to do it. Plenty more to talk about today here on the program. Matt Taylor. We'll see what's going on with Anthony Richardson and the Colts. Back with more on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from from the Wild Food Group. Hank, who's your Hank? Hank's Pizza Mac. Right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the when's Matt 9:10?
You should be right now.
Great.
By the way, Dylan said he's busy this morning. He's going to Purdue football practice.
Hey, keep me checked on time. I'm trying to make a cup of coffee.
Okay, you got about a minute and a half, and it looks like Matt just pulled in. What's up, Mr. Taylor?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. You sound great.
Cool.
You finally glad to be getting close to being in the swing of things again?
Oh, man, we still got a long way to go, to be honest with you.
I guess you're right. It feels like it's just right around the corner, but there's still, about a month left?
Yeah, the problem is there's just no, consistency to it. There's no routine to it. With training camp, every day's different. There's a different schedule every day, and you're playing on different nights. And, it's not like the regular season where Monday's Monday, right? Tuesday's Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday's Wednesday. So we're going to be in Philly next week for joint practices. So we're going to be in Philly. We're going to be hung up there for 4 days. So,
Are you in Indy right now?
yes.
Okay, cool. Jimbo, you got about 30 seconds. I'll go ahead and pull us in from commercial.
In Bloomington near Cabello is locally owned and operated by Endeavor Hospitality Group. Launched from a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewery, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste what Dr. Hops is brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on a beautiful Thursday afternoon, and what could make it more beautiful? How about having Matt Taylor? Matthew, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, big fella? How you doing?
Just living the dream, man. Living the dream. How are things going at the practice facility?
It's great. It's great. We're only, I think today, actually, now that I think about it, just kind of hit me. Today's the last day of training camp for the Colts up at Grand Park. Tonight's the last.
That right?
Tonight's the last practice. The second of 2 joint practices with the Chicago Bears tonight, 6 to 8. So kind of a long night last night. Didn't get back to the ranch until about, I think I pulled in about 11:10ish. So kind of running a little bit sluggish here this morning, but going to do it again tonight as well, and then play a preseason game on Saturday night. Have a kickoff luncheon tomorrow. Then Monday, travel to Philadelphia, do some joint practices with the Eagles next week ahead of their preseason game on Thursday night. So, I mean, it's just I tell my wife, man, and like, let's just take it one day at a time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves a little bit, because that's all you can do here in the month of August with the schedule kind of, one day it's this, one day it's something else. So no really routine in the month of August with the preseason, but we're getting closer and closer to the regular season. It's coming.
Absolutely. And the last day at Grand Park has been a boon for the fans. And it more crowded. It seems like it was sold out all the time, which it probably always is. But was there just a little bit more interest this year? Of course, with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I mean, I think the Colts, they only practiced 13 times this year, and that number is down because of next week, again, not having camp at Westfield because they're going to do that joint practice with the Eagles. So normally, they'll get maybe, 16, 17 practices. This year, that number was down. So I just think there was more of a sense of urgency to come out and watch the Colts because you had less practice opportunities to see the team. But they also practiced at a lot of, opportune times. They practiced on the weekends. They would practice on Saturday. They would practice on Sunday. They held 4 night practices, including tonight. Last night was sold out. You had a lot of Bears fans there, obviously, but you had more Colts fans. Made for a really good atmosphere. 6 to 8 tonight. Tonight's practice is going to be sold out as well. So you're talking like 7,500 fans, cramming the 2 fields there at Grand Park. It's just a good, fun atmosphere. It's free to get in. Everybody's in a good mood. Tonight it's Thursday, right? You're closer to the weekend. It's just something fun to do. And again, it just makes for a really good environment for the players. The music's going. The crowd is cheering. They're vibing off the energy from the atmosphere. It's just a really fun experience to come up to Colts camp.
Absolutely. The joint practices have really been a hit, not only with fans, but with teams, because the NFL, the preseason has always been, it's kind of a joke. The preseason games, a lot of us think they're kind of a joke because they're not going to get their good players hurt. And I understand that. But joint practices, they were always kind of fun in high school, weren't they? But what have they gained? What have you seen from have grown through this? Anthony Richardson specifically.
Well, it's exciting this week. He had the big news. He was named starter, and the Colts are rolling with him. He's going to be the starting quarterback not only week 1, but for the entire season. That was the declaration coming from Shane Steichen, the head coach, earlier this week. And I think it makes perfect sense. And I love the timing of it because, listen, you draft a quarterback top 5 overall for a reason. And they drafted Anthony Richardson specifically for a reason because of what he can do and what he can turn into by playing and getting experience and growing and also coming to the right situation, which the Colts think that they are with, their head coach and offensive coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter, and so on and so forth. But also too,
who was that last guy?
Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coordinator. Yeah.
I just want you to say it. I just want you to say it again.
I'm with you. I understand. I understand. I'm so hesitant to bring him up around you because you have the maturity of a 12th grader.
You're giving me a lot of credit.
I know.
12th grader.
I show you some justice there. But if you look at the schedule coming up, the timing of it, in my opinion, makes perfect sense because this is really when it starts to heat up for the Colts. I mentioned the 2 joint practices this week. You got a preseason game on Saturday night. Next week, you have a joint practice with the Eagles, maybe one of the best defense certainly top 3 defense in the NFC, so you're going to play them on Tuesday and then, play a preseason game against them on Thursday night of next week. That's 5 golden opportunities for Anthony Richardson to not only see a different starting defense, but to take all the first team reps against it, throwing to guys like Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce, right? His skill players that he's going to be having with him and around him during a game, and an offensive line that's going to be protecting for him during a game. So I love it. And I think the Colts wanted this to happen all along, but they needed to see where, he was in the spring and the first couple of practices of training camp and see how he responded in a preseason game setting. And obviously he threw the pick against Buffalo, but it was how he bounced back after that. It was the maturity and his ability to compartmentalize the situation on the sideline. So I think all of those things were kind of puzzle pieces along the way that has contributed to the picture that, hey, he can handle this, and he needs to play to get better, and he needs to grow, and that benefits all of us in the long run. And I think that's, how the Colts came to this decision, because of all the things physically that Anthony Richardson can do with the football, and he has grown significantly mentally since they drafted him back in April.
And that is the linchpin of every offense. And again, his maturity is off the charts already, and that just gives you a great feel of confidence. I'm sure the coaches have a great feel of confidence with him because of things like that. And I'm sure that's that's felt by his teammates. To have that kind of mental maturity at his age is astounding. But that definitely has to come through to his teammates and those around him.
No, it's a good point. And Anthony talked about that this week. He's determined to be great at this. He is determined to be, a guy that is remembered and talked about in 15, 17 years. Hopefully it lasts this long with his career. He doesn't want to just be the answer to a trivia question, in the sense that, who do the Colts draft in the first round in 2023? Like, he wants to be a guy that people talk about in this league as a top quarterback when he played. And with that, he also understands that he has some proven veterans on this team that are trying to get something done from an accomplishment standpoint in their careers. And they're trusting Anthony Richardson to help them be a part of that. Like, DeForest Buckner and Zaire Franklin and Quentin Nelson and Shaquille Leonard and so on and so forth. So he wants to be good for himself. It's important for his personal pride, to take this seriously and to be great at the quarterback position. But he also owes it to those veterans that have been in this league now for 5, 6, 7 years, depending on who they are. Because the NFL, as we know, it's cliche, but it's so true. It stands for not for long. Nothing's guaranteed. Just because you have a rookie quarterback doesn't mean you can't accomplish something significant. And so Anthony Richardson is trying to hold up his end of the bargain for those veterans that are pouring their heart and soul into this operation as well. So he just seems to get it. For lack of a better term, like the light bulb is on for him. Like, he's 21 years old, but he doesn't act like it. He doesn't talk like it. And he is just, way more wise beyond his years. And I think that's why the Colts love him. Certainly what he can do physically is in a league of his own. But I think they drafted him because of he, more so than a lot of other guys that were available to them in the draft, displayed a lot of maturity and that high sense of self-awareness that I got a long way to go, but I am totally in on the work and I'm buying in to be great. And so I'm all in on you taking me there and learning from everything around me.
Kind of reminds you of me, doesn't it?
Yeah, what I just described, you can just copy and paste that for Jim Coyle. That's exactly right.
Oh, I love you.
Put that in your eulogy, buddy.
I would love that. I would give you credit. Absolutely. I would give you a credit, Matt Taylor, on the bottom of that. Hey, they've got a lot of exciting things coming up that have continued for the fans. The practices at West Park are ending, but the big kickoff. I mean, no other NFL team does stuff like this. Jim, that's one thing about Jim Irsay. He likes to throw a good party. I mean, he likes to throw a good party. He does. I think he loves to throw a party, not to party, but to throw a good party. And man, that opportunity is certainly there for everybody with a concert. And again, seeing his collection, the Jim Irsay collection, which is mind-boggling of the things that are within it, because it's not sports, it's world. It's just things that from across the world, sports, music. Good gosh, there's so much. The dress from the Wizard of Oz is probably in that damn thing. I don't even know. But great. It's just a great collection of things. When is that coming up?
That is coming up on Friday, September 8th, and it's at Lucas Oil Stadium. And the Colts are branding it as the kickoff concert because it is the Friday before the first regular season game. A lot of hype. It's the season opener. So the following Sunday is that first game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a division game right out of the gate. Maybe the best team in the division coming to your home turf. So monster game right out of the gate, and trying to generate a lot of excitement a couple of nights beforehand. And you're right. I mean, nobody else does this. And Jim, he's taken his show to Nashville and Boston and San Francisco and Las Vegas. Last year did it at Lucas Oil Stadium this time of year and is doing it again. You're going to have John Mellencamp there performing with the band. You're going to have Steven Stills. You're going to have Ann Wilson. You're going to have Peter Wolf from the Jay Giles Band fame. So, I mean, it's just, and plus you're going to have the collection. To your point, it's all presidential artifacts. It's the greatest guitar collection literally in the world. That's not hyperbole. It's the greatest guitar collection ever assembled. Millions and millions
some of the stuff.
dollars.
Some of the stuff he has, I'm like, okay, how the hell do you get that? And I can't think of anything offhand because I don't have it in front of me because there's so many things. I wish I would have pulled that list up. I
mean, it's guitars from Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, and you've got artifacts, pop culture artifacts. You've got sports artifacts, and then the best part about, if you're a Colts fan, the best part about this opportunity to see the collection is that he'll pull out all the Colts memorabilia. So it's not only his personal Colt stuff, but it's the team's history in terms of artifacts. So you're going to see Johnny Unitas's cleats, and you're going to see jerseys worn from the Super Bowl. It's just stuff that he normally doesn't take to San Francisco, obviously, but for here at Lucas Oil Stadium, you'll see everything plus the band, and it's free. Like, I can't stress it enough. He loses money on this. Like, he pays for everything. He pays to rent out the stadium. He pays the band. He pays for the stage. He pays for the concessions. He pays for your ticket. Like, all you have to do is just walk in and watch it. It's unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of.
Absolutely. And the people that he's bringing in, but when you say the band, his band, first of all, his band, Kenny Aronoff, is that right?
Yep. Kenny Wayne Shepherd's in it. Yep. And then you've got, it literally is an all-star band. I mean, you've got those special guests that I just mentioned, but the normal players that are in the band with him every show are all-stars in their own right, and come from, they have tremendous resumes, not only playing solo careers, but they've been backup musicians for John Mellencamp and Bruce Springsteen. And they just play. It's like, Jim, it'd be like you coming over to my house on a Friday night and we just listen to my jukebox. That's what this is times 1,000, because you actually hear the songs that you love in person. So they play a lot of hits. It's all covers. It's all sing-along songs. It's just, if you go and have a bad time, I don't know what's wrong with you. That's on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, I cannot thank you enough, my friend. Look forward to seeing you soon, brother.
Yep. Likewise, brother. Let me know, and looking forward to it. All right.
Have a great day. I appreciate you.
You too, brother.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Wow Food Group. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
All right, John, pull up that picture of those guys with the little 5 shirts.
Okay. Where do I have it at? This right here?
Yes.
That's,
I know it's not
as
that
good as the picture can look. It's not the best looking one, but
I know.
do you want to keep it up right now, or do you want me to pull it up in a bit?
I'll pull it up in a bit.
Okay.
How funny is that?
If I knew the context, I'm sure I would think it's funny, but I don't really know why.
Oh, all those shirts those guys are wearing
are
my former rodeo competition shirts.
Oh, wow.
Like in this photo here, I think I have one. There you go. See that?
Oh.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sponsors, baby.
That's pretty cool. All right. How much time?
All right. All right.
About 20
Hey,
seconds.
yesterday, did you send Fort Wayne the one with Dolson?
No, because you had mentioned in the first hour that he was coming on in the second hour, and that's why I didn't do that. All right, here we go.
With stocked meals in your fridge.
I can use it some
Order
other time,
online
though.
today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway on a beautiful, beautiful Thursday here in Central Indiana. Coming to you from Bloomington, brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty, Cheryl Sizemore. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl's 2 decades of experience. Without it, could be the difference between getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl, at IndyHomePros.com. I mentioned Ja'Kai Newton of Indiana underwent a procedure to treat a pre-existing injury. Injury he dealt with. He missed all but 2 games of his senior year in high school with a microfracture at his knee. And in doing some research on that, the repair to this is to go in and they poke holes. I don't know if it's in the cartilage, I think, around it to allow blood flow for growth. But the long and short of it, the recovery time could be 6 to 9 months. Now, I'm not saying that because that's not been said. And don't get me wrong. I'm just saying what could be. The recovery time could be 6 to 9 months. And if that is the case, that is why when you've heard me talk about Indiana needing to fill that open scholarship, that's why. Right there. Bodies. Let's say that is a 6 to 9 month recovery deal. Now you're down to 11 guys. 2 or 3 of them get hurt. You quickly have a short bench. And that extra body makes a difference. And that's why obviously, I guess they did not find the guy that they felt comfortable with, but having that 13th body would have been nice. I mean, we've seen Indiana get thin recently because of injuries. It just happens easy, especially as the season progresses. I mean, the season is long, the wear and the tear. There's a reason why. 13 guys is not a lot. Especially when you start losing them. So hopefully he gets back as soon as possible. Indiana is hosting top 10 class of 25 target Jalen Harrelson for an unofficial visit on September 2nd. It will be his third unofficial visit to Indiana after previously seeing a game at Simon Scott Assembly Hall last season in December. He also visited Indiana in August of 2022. Harrelson, a 6'8" point guard. That's right, baby, a 6'8" point guard who announced his transfer to La Lumiere this summer, finishing his high school career there, which means, first of all, he will not be eligible for Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana. So I'm sure people like Trent Sisley are happy about that. But he's kind of a freak, man. 6'8" point guard, great passer. He excelled on the Nike EYBL circuit this past summer for the Indy Heat. Close to 20 scholarship offers, including a July offer coming from Duke. Took a visit to Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue previously. So we'll see how that works out. But his visit coming up. Opening day, baby. Ohio State in town. There'll be a gigantic buzz. He says that Pat Knight was a good passer too. Yeah, Pat is. Pat was and still is. Pat wasn't 6'8", though, baby, and built like Jalen Harrelson. I can promise you that. Yeah, that's just a unique deal, man. A 6'8" point guard. That's a boon. That guy's going to rebound. Hell, that's a Magic Johnson type deal. Well, hell, Magic Johnson's 6'9", which was crazy to see him playing point guard, but Magic was a guy who not only played point guard, but posted up, played center for a game in a gigantic NBA playoff game that is very historic. That's the thing. You have a 6'8" point guard. Boy, can you put you can put your opposition in some compromising positions in that with that. How about Jalen Hood-Schifino announced that in collaboration with Next Gen Camp, he's hosting a youth camp in Bloomington for kids also on September 2nd while Jalen Harrelson is in town. So that'll be a nice, convenient little get together. Kids between the ages of 6 to 16 can register for the camp, which is hosted at the Twin Lakes Recreational Center from 9 to 1. It's a $150 fee required to participate in the camp. The Los Angeles Lakers rookie is also hosting a camp in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I was just at this past weekend visiting my father. Indiana women's soccer will kick off the 2023 season on Thursday night. Tonight. Against Illinois State. starting at 8. While Illinois State was one of the worst teams in their conference last season, struggling to a 3-14 record, they do return all conference members Kelsey McLaughlin, who started 15 of 18 games and scored 2 goals on 19 shots. This is also on streamed on Big Ten Plus. So there's that. I think women's soccer is on the rise with Mr. Von Bennekom. Done a good job. That's another thing. It always amazed me at Indiana that Indiana has had dominant programs forever in men's basketball, men's soccer. And that never carried over to the women's side. I was always curious. That was always curious to me about why there was no bleed over, especially with basketball in Indiana. But you don't have to worry about that now. Terry Moran has got the women's basketball program probably. If I had to rank men's and women's basketball, soccer, football, baseball, where they are as far as women's basketball is number 1 right now. Men's soccer, number 2, men's basketball, number 3. I'm sitting. I guess put men's basketball. Or thinking of Indiana swimming and diving that would jump in there, but yeah, women's Indiana women's basketball, the most successful team that Indiana has at the moment, and there are high expectations coming up this season. Not to get off on a tangent, but we'll see if we can get Jalen on the show to talk about this. Very cool though, coming back to Bloomington to do that. So there's your opportunity again. That is on September 2nd. That's game day. It goes from 9 to 1. So you could do both. You go out, take your kid out to the camp from 9 to 1, and then especially for those heading in from out of town, and then you can head over to the game, the Indiana-Ohio State football game. Man, is that going to be a madhouse? A madhouse. I normally get to a football game a couple hours early just to not deal with getting there. That day, I potentially might get there 5 hours early. I hate dealing with traffic. Hate it. And I want to get in there and get because we're always carrying stuff. So I will get there earlier than I probably potentially 2 hours earlier than I normally do. So I just don't have to deal with that. Lots of comments on the Ja'Kai Newton situation. Russell that says that type of surgery usually takes 6 months. Yeah, it's what I said in recovery, and that is probably. I'm not going to guess that that's what we're looking at. That's what Indiana fans are looking at, or the Ja'Kai Newton is looking at. But with the release saying there is no date set for a return, and with the potential of it being that long, I would plan on it being that. That's just me planning on it. I would expect it that, but I'm not telling you that that's the case. I'm just saying that's what I'm going to be thinking. That's what I'm thinking. And again, is it too late to fill that spot? the existing scholarship that is open. And I mean, it's not too late as far as being able to do it. School starts Monday, I believe, at Indiana University. And I think you have another week after that. So I'm sure there are still people out there available. And we'll find out. But it is what it is. It's not like they don't have players. But you hate knowing that you're not going to have one going into the season, well, especially one that you were counting on to potentially perform. But you're not going to have that body. Makes a difference. Especially because who knows how well he could have or would have performed. Would he have been a difference maker in some form? That's going to form the IU team this year. So it would be very interesting to see who steps up for Indiana. You've got CJ Gunn, who I'm sure is working his tail off. This now presents opportunities for other people. And you can look back in the annals of anything, sports, and always see, wow, I'm not making, this is a grand difference. But you know the Wally Pipp story, right? I mean, I know some of you do, but Wally Pipp was a great baseball player. As a matter of fact, he was the starting first baseman for the New York Yankees. I think it was starting first baseman for the New York Yankees. And didn't feel well one day. And so he was replaced in the lineup by a guy named Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig would go on to set the Major League Baseball record for consecutive games played. Bye-bye, Wally Pipp. And now you know the rest of the story. Good day. Little Paul Harvey for you older folks. Tana says Jordan Hulls is going to have to teach the whole team how to shoot threes now.
Break.
That would certainly help them. Dave Cattell jumping on from Jeffersonville. We appreciate you guys, and we'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio brought to you by Barber Pop Real Estate. For those looking for a home in the southern Indiana, Louisville area, reach out to our friend Matt Lincoln, Matt at barberpop.com or Barbara at barberpop.com. They have served those areas for 3 decades. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, what happened to getting John?
To getting who?
Trent Sisley.
What do you mean? You already had him on.
Oh,
You
we
asked me this
did?
the other day.
When did we do that?
You did it on a day where I wasn't here.
But when? How long ago was this?
It was probably about a month ago now. Speaking of people, though, I reached out to Todd Golden, and he wasn't available for today. He's going to come on next week, though. He said we'll get back in touch next week and figure out when he can come on.
July 28th. So, and what is today's date? Today's
The 17th.
So was he on this month?
I don't remember the exact date. I just know that it was at least 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Damn, I don't remember. Holy crap.
Because I ended up using it as a best of segment for one of the days that we didn't have a show. Because I know you did it. I just know I wasn't here for it. All right, 30 seconds.
Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club is located next door to Southern Stone Restaurant on Patterson and Rogers. It's one of the most popular gathering spots in Bloomington. Whether you're out on a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Thursday, August 17th, brought to you by our good friends from Feast Market and Cellar, a part of the Wow Food Group, located right next door to Southern Stone, another fine member of the Wow Food Group, where you can get excellent meals, but great wine at Feast Market and Cellar. Sommelier, oh man, they've very, very different, and always their brunch is usually sold out every stinking time. Fozan, jumping on. Great to see you. He is joining us on YouTube, where you can do as well. Just go to @Indiana Sports Beat Radio. He says, hello to all from 105-degree Amman, Jordan. He is frying an egg on his car hood. So he's hot. Russell asked him what is he doing there, oil, and he says no oil in Jordan. But hey, Fozan, I'm still waiting for a hat from Jordan, some type of hat to wear on here for you. But we appreciate everybody, no matter where you're listening, via radio on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. Always the right call. 1380 The Fan, Fort Wayne Sports Station. 1230 a.m., 104.7 WJOB, the voice of the region in Hammond and Chicago, and WBRO 89.9 in Marengo. Appreciate everybody, whether you're on the radio or a podcast or YouTube. Like I said, you can comment if you follow along on YouTube as well. And we try to get to all those questions, but there's always a great group to banter with in there as well. So help everyone is going up. Yes, as Russell says, hit the thumbs up button if you are watching on YouTube. But something I noticed also, Trent Sisley is going to be playing for Indiana Elite, not the Heat. and he is being recruited hard by Notre Dame. I believe one of the coaches, former coaches at Indiana Elite, may have gone up to Notre Dame to join Micah Shrewsbury. But Notre Dame's a long way away. You can never judge because of where somebody lives. And Trent Sisley, obviously from Heritage Hills in southern Indiana, probably, I don't know, an hour from Bloomington, maybe at most, because of the back roads, but substantially further away to Notre Dame for, say, the parents to go watch, but not that it would be probably a factor. But hey, you do not assume that Trent Sisley is a lockdown for Indiana, nor is Jalen Harrelson, both being recruited by other people. Indiana, someone told me, I was talking to someone last night and hoping to get somebody on from Purdue to talk about the Boilermakers as they finish their European tour. But Trey Kaufman-Wren, I was talking to a friend last night, apparently is looking very, very, very good. That's one that should really stick in the crawl of Indiana fans, because he would be wearing an Indiana jersey had it not been for Archie Miller. There needed to be a year, just 1 year difference, and he would be playing at Indiana, probably wanted to play for Indiana, should have played for Indiana. No one from Southern Indiana like that goes to Purdue, and man, it just didn't work out. But that's water under the bridge. But Trey Kaufman-Wren is one of those guys that didn't do a lot last year. He got a lot of minutes, but maybe those were valuable minutes. And Purdue has been overseas playing in Europe together. And I think they've been playing without the big man, the big easies, Zach Edey, which is better for Purdue because that teaches them to play without him. And that's their biggest problem, is playing without him. Other guys picking up the slack, other players being the producer, not relying on lobbing it to a 7'4" monster. Because if Purdue gets the other parts going, they're going to be hell on wheels. Believe you me. If you're able to feed that 7'4" monster that you cannot stop, who has stopped Zach Edey, and who is going to stop Zach Edey? Nobody. He's probably a little better this year, a little more pissed off. He should be. He should play like he's pissed off. He's going to have to. But Purdue has to have the rest of their parts be better. It can't be a Zach Edey show. Because a team like Indiana beat them last year with good defense. Zach, you're not going to stop Edey, but you can stop the rest of the team. Well, if they're better, and they will be, their guards, Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, you think that they're not determined? They know this is their last year with Edey. They're determined. Mason Gillis, they've got it. Purdue is going to be a good team. I think as we get closer, I know I've talked a lot about Purdue and Michigan State together. I think Purdue is going to separate themselves and be my number one pick, Michigan State number two.
We talked about last week, or maybe it was earlier in the week or last week. Inside the Hall had their power rankings, whatever you want to call them out, had Indiana seventh. Seventh, people. I know you don't like to hear that, and no one thinks that, but how much do you know about what the other teams have? How good the other teams are. This is not about just liking. It's being realistic. Michigan State, they're loaded. Ohio State, a lot better than they showed last year. Maryland was good last year. They just could not win on the road. That was their only problem. They continue to get better. Wisconsin, we talked about that. They've got a ton coming back. This is not this. I think this is going to be a tougher upper half than Northwestern. Forgot to even mention them. Boo Booey's back. It might be tougher sledding in the Big Ten this year than it was last year. Definitely tougher for Indiana. Indiana picked as the preseason favorite to win last year. Probably shouldn't have been picked as the preseason favorite. But that's a title they let get away. I'm going to tell you. When you can sweep the champion, but you lose at home to a team that you had a 21-point lead on the road, man, injuries played a part in that as well. Won't forget that. Going to the comments, Russell says Indiana doesn't need Trey Kaufman, Wren. They have three bigs on the bench that are all battle tested and ready to play. Or when you say they, are you talking about Indiana or Purdue? I'm not sure. Russell pointing out Rutgers may have Harper this season. No, Dylan Harper is committing for next year. Yes, that is correct. That would be next year. He's a next year model. He's still on the undecided list. But yes, don't think that that's why you saw, whether you like it or not, you saw Jeff Goodman make the comment that Indiana is going to win some games, but they're not going to do anything in the tournament. I'd love to get Jeff back on to talk about that, because it's not like that I don't disagree with it, but I don't know what they're going to do in the tournament. How the hell? The one thing I will say is I have this year, there's no way. It's like the football team. There's too many new faces on this basketball roster. 6 new faces. And Ja'Kai Newton probably is not going to be a part of this picture. A lot of youth. You're going to be counting on a freshman a lot in Mackenzie Mbako. You do have great senior leadership with Xavier, but then everything else, Malik Renew, sophomore, so you got some who played great as a freshman and played above a freshman level. But you've just, is there a star on that team? And you have to have one. Yeah, I know everybody's going to say Xavier. It's not that your point guard can't be your star, but your point guard cannot be your leading scorer. He can't be the guy. He's the guy who gets the ball to the guy. Now, you do want great production from Xavier because he can do that. He can get to the rim. He can shoot the ball. But the point guard is not the guy you want to rely on for that. Indiana is going to need guys to step up. The youngsters are going to have to step up. Purdue is an old team, man. They're a veteran team. Their sophomores are all sophomores and a half because they got so much playing time last year. Or whatever. What year is Trey Kaufman in? Is he going to be a sophomore or a junior? Heath, not a fan of Jeff? It's a bold statement to make because I don't know what Indiana's going to be like. I know what they have, but I don't know what they have, what those parts are like together. I don't know how they're playing right now. I don't know if Mackenzie Mbako is that special ingredient and they are just killing it. I don't know that Gabe Cupps is not just draining, and CJ Gunner not just draining three-pointers out there. We don't know that. But it is, I do get the easy, it's easy to look at that and say, well, that's, you're putting together a hodgepodge group and a lot of youth. So there's no way to expect much in the NCAA tournament, because in the tournament, nowadays, it's different. It is intense from the get-go. No matter who you're playing, they're playing for their life under the big bright lights, and they want to stay there. You see it now. You saw it last year. The upsets don't stop. These teams, they come to play, and they play hard. And you better be athletic. You better be good. You better be a good defending team. And I see where Jeff gets his misgivings with all the youth, but it's also it got a lot of attention, which serves a great point. We've got a lot more coming up here on, thank you, Fozan. He's going to be a junior. So, yeah, they're old, man. Purdue is loaded with, not only loaded, they're loaded with veterans. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Metalworks Brewing Company, served at all the Wow Food Group locations. Chris Denari joins us next, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Good morning, Chris.
Hello there. How are you guys?
Well, hello, old friend. I haven't seen you in a minute.
That's right. You were flying last week.
I was in Charlotte. I was going to try to buy the Hornets from Michael.
You were negotiating?
Yeah, it didn't work out.
I think he did pretty well on that sale. He bought it in the millions and he sold it in the billions.
Yeah, good thing. He needed it too. Such a good thing. He was hurting, man. I think he's only worth who knows, $1 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, that Adidas was so stupid.
Yeah.
He wanted Adidas.
Right. I mean,
gosh.
It's basically, Phil Knight, Nike, but Jordan made Nike. I mean.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, schedule day comes out today, 3:00. So I know my schedule later today. What, Jim? What's your predict? What will IU football be? Hey,
Man, you know, that is such any year. There's never been a year that I couldn't just fire out an answer.
At the supply house, they have those.
And now I have no idea.
yeah,
I can give you a range. I think they could be anywhere between 3 and 7 wins. That's my range between the floor and the ceiling for Indiana.
I'm 7 wins. That
Remember, I said floor and ceiling. That means
Yeah.
they live up to all their potential.
I get that, but even the ceiling, I'm like, really? I don't know that I see but I don't know what they're like. I don't even know who their quarterback is. They're better. They're going to be better than they were last year. So, and they won what? How many games last year, John? 4? Or
They
5?
won 4 last year.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they're a better team than last year. The biggest problem is having Louisville on the schedule.
Yeah,
Or
That's far
that
from
to
the
me,
biggest problem, but it is. I
Well,
do know what you're getting at.
It's the biggest problem because that's a linchpin game. It's a non-conference game. You have to win that game.
yeah.
Because
That's at
those
Lucas Oil, right? That's at
Yeah.
Lucas Oil, right?
Yeah, it is.
They're practicing there this Friday, by the way.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that they were.
But yeah, you have to win the Louisville game, because then now that leaves you with the rest of the. Where the heck did my?
All right,
games
here we go. Coming back.
Guest with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, brought to you by our good friends at Cabello Restaurant, a part of the Wow Food Group located right on the square in Bloomington on the north side. Get yourself a taste of the Italian taste and traditions right here in Southern Indiana. Chris Denari, the voice of the Pacers, joins us. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. We were just talking about college football schedules, and today's a big day in the NBA. The schedule comes out now. 4 games were released on Tuesday, the brand new in-season tournament. So on Tuesday, we found out those 4 games and those dates. But today at 3 o'clock, we'll find out the rest of the schedule. And that's always important because you start to think about what your travel schedule is going to look like for the year. So, yeah, today's a very big day as far as the NBA is concerned.
Yeah, talk about this tournament. Very new thing, is exciting for the fans. Not sure how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I think it's different. It's something that's not been done before. Take a page out of European soccer, or even take a little bit of a page of what you're watching now with Messi with Inter Miami playing in the cup that there's a U.S. Open Cup. There's a cup between the Mexican League and MLS. So it's in that framework, except everything's within the NBA. Think about college basketball, how you go out to Maui, you go, you play in these different tournaments, that it's a tournament within the regular season and you're trying to win that tournament. That would be what the NBA is trying to do, setting up a separate tournament that is being played in November and December. Now, the games that you're playing, the 4 games in your pod, count in the regular season. They are not.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, they are not additional games. So everybody, 28 teams will play 82 games. The 2 teams that make it to the championship of the in-season tournament in Las Vegas in December will play an 83rd game. That game, though, will not count toward the regular season. It'll just be the championship game for the in-season tournament. So what'll happen, Jim, is the Pacers are in a pod. They've got Cleveland, Atlanta, Detroit, and Philadelphia. So they'll play those 4 games, 2 games at home, 2 games on the road. whoever wins that pod will advance to the quarterfinals. So there are 6 5-team pods, and then there will be 2 wildcard teams to get you to the 8 that will play the tournament going forward. If you don't make the quarterfinals, you've got 2 games that the NBA will schedule. We won't know who those opponents are, but there will be dates, similar dates, sometime in December, maybe on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And then once, the teams are eliminated from the in-season tournament, you'll be paired with 2 other teams. So you'll know the date that you'll play if you don't make the quarterfinals. You just won't know the 2 opponents. So, from a standpoint of having never done this before, it will take a little bit to get used to. But I applaud the NBA to try something a little bit different and see if they can energize late November and December when you've got college basketball season starting. You've still got college football season, going toward the playoffs. You've got the NFL. So it's something different, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Does the winner get anything other than pride?
There was more money involved. I mean, they've tried to incentivize it. I think I'd have to look at it, Jim. It's, $500,000 or $1 million a player. And then it's just another chance to win, a trophy. Yeah, there's money involved.
That ain't money, baby. That's money. That's Jack right there. Wow, $500,000 to $1 million for winning that. Holy crap!
I am pulling that up right now. If you win the championship, it's $500,000 per player. If you reach the final game, it's $200,000. If you're in the semifinals, it's $100,000 per player. Now, we know a lot of these guys make, a lot of money, and is $500,000 a lot? Well, it still is a lot of money. I don't care how much money you make. If you have a chance to win more or earn more, you're going to do that. So, and I think it becomes a source of pride. I mean, in the WNBA, they have the Commissioner's Cup. It's a little bit different. They play 10 games and then decide on who the 2 finalist teams are. And that was played on Tuesday night in Las Vegas, and it was Vegas against New York, and the Liberty won on the road, handing Vegas their first home loss of the year. But what made it interesting was it was the first championship that the New York Liberty had won. They had never won a WNBA title in the 25 plus years. So while it's an in-season tournament, it's still something you're playing for. And so I would say from a college basketball standpoint, there's only one champion at the end of the year. But during the course of the year, you're playing for a conference championship. You're playing for a Big Ten tournament championship. You're playing for, the Great Alaskan Shootout, for the Rainbow Classic. There are always subsets of things that you are trying to win. And I think that's what the NBA is trying to do right now.
Yeah, that's unique. Certainly different, but similar to, well, it's not, but in baseball, they use the All-Star game to determine who gets the home field advantage in the World Series, I believe, still.
Yeah,
right?
they don't do that anymore. I mean, from the NBA standpoint, you used to have West versus East, right? Western Conference versus the Eastern Conference in the All-Star game, but they don't do that anymore. They have the 2 top vote getters pick their own team. So you've had Team LeBron, Team Durant, those types of things. So they don't want to do anything like that that affects the NBA playoffs. Now, it will be interesting down the road is if you win the tournament, does that help you from a draft standpoint? Usually, the team that wins the NBA title is drafting 29th or 30th in the first round of the NBA draft. But maybe if you win that tournament, somehow you get an extra first round draft pick. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that you could put forward. But for right now, it's just called the NBA Cup. It's an in-season tournament champion in Las Vegas.
Well, that sounds fun. And they're spending a lot. The funny thing is, Las Vegas used to be no man's land. for
Yeah.
sports. It was like
It was
a
taboo, right?
It was a no-fly zone, baby. You
Right.
could not, no-fly zone. Now it's just like college sports. It is done a 180. It is nothing but sports. It's becoming a sports mecca of championships. We were yesterday talking about the potential of the Big Ten probably ending up at some point playing a football championship there now because of Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC. And Las Vegas being such a great draw last year when Indiana played Arizona in that basketball game. That should have been dominated by Arizona fans. It was an 80-20 Indiana fan disparity in Las Vegas. But I think it's part of that is it's a great travel destination. And you take, so that's Las Vegas is just, it's become the spot, man.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the arenas and the stadiums they have there. The Raiders are there. There's now a WNBA team that's owned by Davis and the Raiders. You have a hockey team, the Vegas Knights. They won the Stanley Cup. You will have an NBA team. I think once the new television contracts are signed and approved, I think they go in effect in 2 years. I believe that the NBA will expand to 2 more teams and get to the number of 32. And I would have to believe that Seattle and Las Vegas are the 2 markets that the NBA is looking at. So I would think at some, and baseball, the Oakland A's are moving to Vegas. So at some point, Jim, you will have the big 4. You'll have hockey, NBA, baseball, football, a WNBA. You've got all sorts of golf tournaments, all kinds of things that go on out there. You're absolutely right. It has become a destination for sports. It's always been a destination for fans. How many people that I know that during March Madness for those, especially those first 2 games, the first and the second round on Thursday, Friday, people will fly out to Vegas and watch all those games in a sports book. So there's no question that Vegas has become a hotspot for teams and franchises now, something we didn't see 10, 15, 20 years ago.
And colleges are of all things, not just the pros that stayed away, but colleges because of the gambling issues. But I think we've seen, buddy, you try to get one over on them in the gambling and they will bust your ass.
Well, I mean, you think about all the things that, you have out there in the hotels and those types of things. And I mean, the NBA has hit the mother lode with Summer League. It's become, a must see in the summer for basketball fans. So, yeah, it's just a different environment. I mean, where we are, with sports betting all across the country and those kinds of things. I mean, you're just seeing Vegas become an optimal place for franchises, for games, for tournaments, all those things. I mean, Pac-12 had their conference basketball tournament out there the last few years. I think the West Coast Conference has been out there. So really, if you look at the last 5 or so years, nothing new as far as that is concerned. It's just now that you are seeing franchises, pro franchises make their home now in Las Vegas.
You want to know one that won't be there? The Pac-12.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I should say the Pac-4, I should say.
Yeah, that's been a fascinating, the last 5 years has been fascinating as far as expansion is concerned. But what happened in the last 2 weeks with basically the Pac-12 crumbling to, as you said, the Pac-4, just an amazing story as far as college athletics.
It's very sad. I'll be honest with you, but everyone says, "Oh, it's Stevie," but the Pac-12 did this to themselves. They just self-imploded with unbelievable incompetence. Who would have thought? But I will say though, when you lose UCLA and USC, that's a kick. That's a kick, boy. It's hard to recover. But you look at the Big 12, who lost Texas and Oklahoma, and they're thriving. They've got good leadership. They're going to end up being one of the big 3 conferences left.
Yeah, what a recovery by them. with Cincinnati and those schools going in, but then to poach what was left of the Pac-12. I mean, Colorado making the move to go from the Pac-12 to the Big 12, and then Utah and Arizona and all those schools following. Just an amazing story, what we've seen over the last couple of weeks.
What's up next for you, brother?
Well, like I said, today's an important day because you see what your next, 6 to 8 months is going to look like as far as the schedule is concerned. So just waiting for that. And we'll also see what kind of national schedule from a TV standpoint that the Pacers get. I would say they should get more games than they got last year. If they're ESPN, then we'll do those games as well. Last year, we did all 82 games. I think we did a side-by-side with ESPN early in the year in D.C. against the Wizards. If the Pacers are selected for a game on ABC or TNT, then we step aside. But if the Pacers have a game on ESPN, we will go side by side. So I would anticipate, with Tyrese Halliburton and Bruce Brown and Obi Toppin, there's a little bit more buzz about the Pacers this year, but they're still not going to be a team that I believe is probably right now going to get 5 to 8 national games. I'm going to say they get 2 to 4, possibly 5, and we'll just have to wait and see.
I keep talking about the addition of Obi Toppin. Dustin DePirick comes on with the Seats Monday, and I think that was just an incredible get. It's like grabbing it's like getting a free first-round draft pick.
Yes, no question. I mean, he's a guy was the National Player of the Year at the University of Dayton. Really's had a good early career at New York in limited playing time because he was behind Julius Randle. But when he got minutes and the opportunity to play, his numbers were very impressive. In fact, late last year, twice against the Pacers with Randle out, he played very, very well. He had a 30-point game in one of those games. So I think he's a guy, a lot like Aaron Nesmith, that given the opportunity to have consistent minutes, he can be a consistent performer. And I think he fits very well next to Miles Turner. It also gives Jarris Walker, the rookie out of Houston, a little bit of a chance to marinate and grow. You don't just have to throw him into the starting lineup as a 19-year-old. So I think the Obi Toppin signing was strong. We've talked about Bruce Brown, excellent player, played on the championship team in Denver last year, and the Pacers were able to get him as well in free agency.
Looks forward to it, man. How's the grilling going and the gardening?
Did the lawn yesterday. Have it all. It looks good. That's all I have to say. It looks really good right now.
I forget where I was, but I saw your oh, daggone it. What's the commercial?
For Connecticut?
Connecticut, yes.
Yep.
Out in the yard, I was like, and all I could think about was, look at that yard. Look at his yard. Look at his she shed. That's all I could think about. I'm like, oh, give me they cut it in too tight with you and the dogs, but I was like, let me see that yard, baby.
Well, one day when you're up here, just make sure you give me a text or a call and come by and I'll show you around.
I can't wait. Chris Denari, appreciate you, brother. As always, look forward to talking to you next week.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Bye.
You bet. We've got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload is going to join us as the Boilers finish their European tour, looking strong as they will come in to at least be my favorite to win the Big Ten again. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the Travis, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. Can you turn your phone sideways?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. Better?
There you go. Gives us a full screen that way.
All right. Not a problem. Not a problem.
Out hitting practice?
No, I'm actually at my day job today. I got 2 guys that do full-time work for me, so it makes things kind of nice, honestly. I get to sit back and just do a lot of the fun stuff.
That's excellent, man. That is excellent. How are things going up there?
I think they're going pretty well. Jace is pretty high on the football team. It looks like we got some guys. I think it's going to be one of those years where if everything comes together, I think they'll surprise. So it'll be interesting, but coaching transitions always are. So you just never know.
Yeah, losing the quarterback, that's a blow. I mean, Indiana, we won't talk. They've got nothing on Indiana, who lost Michael Penix Jr. to Washington and Jack Tuttle to Michigan. So they lose both starters.
And the guy that looked really promising last year with the
Dexter
unfortunate
Williams.
injury in the Purdue game. Yeah.
Yeah, my God. I mean, their win over Michigan State shocked. I can still feel the shock of that game, winning that game. I could not believe they went on the road and beat Michigan State after how they had played all year, and they did it completely one-dimensionally. They didn't throw a damn pass until like the end of the game. I think they only ended up throwing 2 passes or something.
Yeah, and Williams was giving Purdue fits in that first quarter. I mean, he was giving them all kinds of problems before he got hurt.
That's crazy. Yeah, they win that game if he doesn't get hurt, I think, and that's bold for me to say, but but this year on Indiana football, it's like I said, I'm like. The quarterback race is a real race. It has always been BS, smoke and mirrors virtually every year when they do that. I always knew who the starter was going to be. This year, I can guess, like I said, that it ends up. I said it was going to be. I thought earlier it was going to be Brendan Sorsby. I don't know, but
10 seconds.
We'll talk about it. Endeavor Hospitality Restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hobbs' Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, August 17th. Beautiful outside in central Indiana. Hope you're having a good day and enjoying it. Brought to you by Bubba's 33. Clarksville, down off of I-65 in Clarksville on Veterans Parkway, or in Evansville, right off of the Lloyd. Joined now by Travis Perry. Appreciate you joining us for a Boiler Upload. I was talking about the Boilers earlier as they finish their European tour. Of course, football season coming up as well. Indiana's football team, I've talked to Travis and I said, brother, I've got a little idea, which is weird, and Purdue, not in a terribly different situation. They've got a new coach, and they lost their quarterback. So a lot of changes for the Boilers as well on the football side. How are things looking for Purdue? First of all, Travis, and thanks for joining us from Boiler Upload.
Not a problem. Not a problem. It is looking very interesting. I think from what I've seen so far with Purdue, it's a lot of guys that are new to the system, that new parts, but they have a lot of talent. And how far Purdue goes this year depends on how all of that comes together. They got a definite quarterback. They got a really good one in Hudson Card from Texas. A lot of people are saying he was the best quarterback that was in the transfer portal. And, he was starting at Texas before Quinn Ewers took over the job. And then, of course, they got Arch Manning. So he saw he was going to be second at best, maybe third, and decided to come out and go to a place where he knew he was going to start. So he is taking command of the offense and the receiving room. He wants to spread it around. They want to do a kind of a modified air raid. So there's a lot of talent at receiver, just not a lot of proven production so far. And then in the secondary, they've brought in a bunch of transfers. On the defense, they brought in a bunch of different transfers. So it's guys that have experience. They have, they've got a lot of recruiting stars from their previous stops, but how's it all going to come together? That's the biggest question, I think, for Purdue.
I understand. The other day when I was talking with the defensive backs for Indiana, one was from, oh no, these are the running backs. I apologize. One was from Wake Forest. One was from Stanford, I believe. Texas. It's the same thing. I'm like, okay, no idea here. But Indiana has Jalen Lucas, all American returning, and Josh Henderson. So they've got that. But yeah, it's the unknowns with all these new faces in this transfer portal for all these teams that I'm like going, I don't know. And for Indiana, I don't know who the quarterback is going to be right now. Is Purdue set at quarterback?
Yes, it is going to be Hudson Card. He's been the guy pretty much since he arrived on campus. They do have a second transfer from Arizona State. I think his name is Bennett Meredith, who has looked pretty good in practice, but it's Hudson Card's show. The only other guy on the roster, I believe, that's thrown a collegiate pass is wide receiver Abdur Rahman Yassin. And he threw that in the bowl game, which I believe by some definitions was a football game against LSU, but the final score certainly did not indicate that it was a game of any sort.
Yeah, well, I completely understand. We see that happen so many times. And Purdue losing Jeff Brom was huge. Not something that I didn't expect. I actually expected it before the first time around. So the fact that he decided to not do that Purdue and stay was great. But man, when you lose, it's like Indiana when they lost Kalen DeBoer. To me, that was the loss of losses. He is now the current head coach at Washington, back in the Big Ten. But yeah, the coaching and the continuity for both of these programs is always something to talk about. But Purdue has always done well in football. Their facilities are superb now. They have got an incredible, I guess, indoor facility. That facility does that contain everything? The weight room, the indoor workouts, all of that.
Yeah, the Kosich facility is it was like a $65 million investment that they did. They attached it to the existing indoor practice facility with the Mollenkopf. They got a few outdoor practice fields with it. And kind of the big thing that they added this year is they took out a section of Ross-Ade Stadium, and there will be a tunnel from the facility onto the field underneath the street there. So they've got that connection now. They don't have to walk around down the hill, down by Mackey Arena through. I mean, they just cut off a bunch of. It was a long route to the locker room, honestly. So now that they've got that, that's kind of the last part of that whole facility there, and that's looking pretty good. And then we'll get to see the new south end zone this year that they've added as part of the renovation. That's going to look really nice as well.
Yeah, Purdue has put a lot of money into the football program. They made a lot of commitment. Of course, I think Jeff Brom may have been the impetus for a lot of that, but also just doing what you have to do to keep up with in life in the Big Ten or college sports in general. And they have done that. They have great facilities. They are modernizing their stadium, great press box with the suites. And I mentioned all this because I've been talking about this a lot for Indiana, that they have got to do. The stadium itself is fine. It's their press boxes from like 1968. And it spans like between the 30 and the 30, maybe, where most of these go end to end. But there's just a couple of suites in there. And I'm like, they have got to build these and get these suites for the revenue generators and turn it into that, which ironically, a survey was set out that I just received today. We talked about it yesterday. I had the athletics director, Scott Dolson, on, that was coming out, that they're asking about modernizing that. But Purdue already doing that. So they're ahead of the game. And now I think the programs have to have that stuff
But that's not what the players are even looking at anymore because of NIL and all of those things. How has Purdue been faring in football specifically for NIL?
That's a real question. I mean, they've got the Boilermaker Alliance, which helps set up and organize a bunch of that, and they help them with appearances and have them get out and whatnot. But as far as like merchandise and whatnot, I've just kind of seen like some early T-shirts, or you can get your customized jersey, basic things like that. So we haven't seen a lot of information on, what the numbers are, what each player is getting. I just know the biggest one was they were throwing around seven figures to get Zach Edey to come back for this coming season. And that apparently was a major factor in him withdrawing from the NBA draft. Is he could have made more money at Purdue than he could have as a second round pick without a guaranteed contract.
I said that to so many people. When Trace Jackson Davis got his contract and some of it 2 years of it guaranteed, I said, that doesn't happen. He was the 57th pick. That does not happen. Most guys don't get guaranteed contracts in the second round draft pick. So, and Zach Edey said he has a guaranteed contract right now. Why would you walk away from that? And I think that he knew that the NBA is going to be there. He wanted one more year with a team that he knows that he can probably win with. Last year, they had the pieces, but they were not ready. I've talked about that a lot. Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith, while extraordinarily good players who are going to get better and probably are better, were not good enough. You have to have elite guards to win, especially at the national level, and those guys weren't there yet. That's probably going to change.
And see, I'm still kind of upset. I'm putting on my fan hat here now when I talk, but that game in Columbus was a disaster. And, I maybe this is me being elitist or everything, but if you are a number one seed with the National Player of the Year, there is no valid excuse for you to lose to a 16 seed. None whatsoever. And it was kind of a perfect storm for what happened to Purdue in that game. As you said, the guards were not good. They struggled to hit anything from outside. Fairleigh Dickinson did everything they could to deny Zach Edey the ball. And, Edey still got his numbers, but I don't believe he took a shot in the last 9 minutes of the game. And I think you just saw a team that got tight, and Fairleigh Dickinson was able to keep it close. They made Purdue shoot from outside. They couldn't get anything going from outside. They kept the score low, kind of dragged it into a rock fight, and then they hit a few big shots down the stretch. And it was a slow motion disaster in the making, honestly. And when Purdue was not able to, I think they had a run there early in the second half that they built the lead out to about 6 or 7. And that's usually we're the bigger seed. We're taking over the smaller seed. The Cinderella story is done now. And when Purdue could not build further on that, that's when you knew they were in trouble. And it's such a bittersweet ending to what was a great season. I mean, they spent 7 weeks at number 1. They won the Big Ten by 3 games. They won 29 games. They won the Big Ten tournament. Just a fantastic year overall. They were not expected to win the Big Ten, but you top that off with what I think is the worst loss in NCAA tournament history. And it just leaves such a sour note. And it's one that, unfortunately, what they accomplish this coming season, where they will be very good again. I think they are the Big Ten favorite. I think they can earn another number 1 seed. They will be judged by what happens in March. And not only because of losing to Fairleigh Dickinson, but losing to St. Peter's as a 15 seed, losing to North Texas as a 13 seed. That is where this team is going to be judged going forward. And whether that is fair or not, that is the case right now. They have proven that they can be dominant in the Big Ten. Will they get it done when it matters most in March? And that's what's going to be the ultimate decider for them.
Yeah, they're my favorite now. Early on, I was 1A and 1B with Michigan State, but Purdue will be my clear favorite going into the season this year because of they're old. You've got guys like Trey Kaufman-Wren, who I was talking to a friend last night, who said that he was watching the games in Europe and that he was just knocking them down. And I know they played a lot without Edey, which is the best thing for Purdue to do, because that allows them to not rely on him and have to rely on these other guys and put them in the position that they need to be. But the age of these guys, they have got, now that your guards are sophomores, you've gone through a brutal freshman year where they was put through the fire. That's going to be an incredible experience. They're playing over in Europe. They played over in Europe against those guys. And then you've got Caleb First and Trey Kaufman-Wren, Mason Gillis. I know the roster of Purdue as well as anybody else as far as name, because they've been there long enough. And that's something Purdue has that is extraordinarily unusual. Indiana has 6 new faces this year. Purdue has what, 1?
And they've got a couple more than that. They really have 4, honestly.
4?
Yeah, they've got Wilberg, who's coming out of red shirt, which surprised, another 7-foot center. I don't know how much he's going to play because of Edey, because of Trey Kaufman-Wren, because of First, but he's a guy that he's probably going to see a few minutes, and he is a center a little bit more like a Matt Harms that can step out and shoot. He's got more range than that. He'll play a little bit further from the basket than Edey. But again, I don't know how much he's going to play this year. And then you have Camden Heide coming out of redshirt. He had a solid European trip, and he's a guy that can play on the edge. He can play on the wing, and that's really Purdue's biggest question is the 3. Can they have a guy that can be a shooter from the 3, that can rebound, that can put the ball on the floor? And Heide might be that guy. And if he's not, they've got Miles Colvin out of Indianapolis, the son of Roosevelt Colvin. And people think very highly of him. He had a solid European trip, showed that he can shoot it. And then you have the 4th newcomer is Lance Jones, who was a 4-year starter at Southern Illinois. He's coming in as a grad transfer. He's kind of going to fill that David Jenkins Jr. role, backup point guard, backup shooting guard, guy that can score from all over, play some defense, do a little bit of everything. And like you said, they're old. Yeah, he's a newcomer to the program. He's got 4 years of college basketball experience. And that's a guy you're going to be able to bring off the bench and play, 5, 10, 15 minutes a night, and he can contribute. So, I mean, I think that's going to be very interesting. One of the things that Matt Painter has to struggle with is, how do you give guys enough minutes? I mean, you only have 200 minutes a night to spread around, and you got a team that can go 9 or 10 deep, because even Brian Waddell, a guy that didn't play a lot last year, son of Matt Waddell, he had a fantastic European trip and is looking tremendously athletic. He is really bulked up. He could play that 3 spot. So
you just made me feel extraordinarily old. Holy crap. Matt Waddell has a kid playing in college. Oh, gee whiz.
Well, they also have as a walk-on the grandson of IU great Jimmy Rail.
Is that right?
Yes, Jace Rail from Kokomo. He is a freshman walk-on the roster this year.
I did not know that. A lot of people consider Jimmy Rail the greatest shooter in Indiana history, but those are people that were before me. I never got to see him obviously play, but that's something. Well, yeah. Pretty cool. Purdue has just a history. We don't have enough time to talk about this now. I'd love to talk about it the next time. They have just such a history of national failure, I guess. I don't know what to call it. Not being able to compete in the tournament. They've been only 2 Final Fours ever. The last one is 43 years ago in 1980. And these last 3 years average, losing to a 15 seed in the tournament. After being such a good in-season team, they've won with 24 Big Ten titles, win the Big Ten tournament last year, and all that stuff. We'll have to probably wait till next time to talk about that, but I look forward to that. Hey, if you're a Boiler fan, make sure you give Travis Miller a follow, and make sure you're following Boiler Upload at purdue.rivals.com. to keep up with all things Purdue and all things Boiler. Travis, we look forward to hopefully having you on again and talking to you soon.
Thank you very much for having me. And you mentioned that March failure. I've seen Purdue get as close to get a Final Four as you can get without a going. I was there courtside in Louisville when that shot went down, and I still don't believe it.
Yeah, that's one of the probably will sit in Purdue fans for a long time.
It still hurts.
30 seconds.
I appreciate you, my friend, Travis Miller. That's going to wrap it up for everyone here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Big thanks to Matt Taylor of the Colts, as always, and Chris Denari from the Pacers. We've got lots more coming up tomorrow. Don't forget that Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of the Washington Huskies, will be joining us, and we'll have plenty more as well. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.